send questions to if they have anything?
Yes, so here. Do you have any homework for tonight?
I haven't had a chance to do it. I will get it to you sometime this week.
If you can email it to me, then
Yeah.
I can post it on.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We are streaming live with Robbie and Discovering Buddhism, Refuge in the Three Jewels. So this class is going to run from 7 to 7:45 this Monday and next. If you have any questions, please refer to the About Your Program handout. My email address is on the bottom of that, where you can reach me if you have questions. All of the program material is posted online as well at Kadampa Center or kadampa-center.org. Go to spiritual programs, Discovering Buddhism program materials. And the online reading sources are up towards the top of that screen. Keep scrolling down and you can find the About Your Program handout as well as the homework. And I'll be posting that at some point later this week. All right. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay, thank you, Linda. We also have Donna Cease here, our spiritual program coordinator. Let's see, Donna, do we have anything else that's going to be streaming in this? We're making plans to do a lot of streaming, and it's gradually starting to happen. We're beginning tonight. Everybody's in kind of a shock to have the rug pulled out from underneath them, such as it has been.
So the Wednesday night practices to develop Lam Rim in our minds, which is a set of practices that Geshe-la encouraged us to be doing while he is away. That will start up again this coming Wednesday with Venerable Lamo leading. The texts, if you are interested, I forgot to mention this in the email, you can download the text from FPMT, and there are links to that on the calendar page for Wednesday. So that'll begin Wednesday at 7 o'clock, probably run to about 8 o'clock on Wednesday nights.
Thank you. So this is the Discovering Buddhism module. Taking refuge in the Three Jewels. We did not have class last week, so this is what it will turn out to be the third of 4 classes. The last class will be next week, and probably going to be a little bit longer than 45 minutes next week, so we can get through all the material. But I've never done this like this. It's very different. I feel like I've got 2 people in the Kadampa with me. And I usually depend on a lot of discussion and participation. So this is going to be short. I'm just going to present the material that I think you need to know for this module. And like Linda said, if you have any questions, please email them to her during this week, and I'll try to address at least some of them next week during the last class. I know everybody's had just a most unusual week. We can rejoice in the fact that we have a few minutes to put our minds on maybe a different subject than what we've been thinking about for the last 7 or 10 days. I don't think doing a silent meditation with me sitting here for 20 minutes will be very productive, so we're not going to do a full meditation tonight. We will take a minute and let's just set our motivation. As much as possible, we generate the bodhicitta motivation, the motivation that everything we do, including this class tonight and next week, is done to develop our minds so that we can be of greater benefit to others. And that's certainly something that is a noble aspiration at a time like this, when so many people are suffering physically and mentally. If we can just develop our mind a little bit so that we can help them, that's a wonderful thing. So let's just think like that for a moment. Okay. So just to review a little bit, we've talked about the concept of refuge. Buddhist refuge being putting a safe and positive direction in our lives, indicated by the 3 jewels. So we've talked about that. We talked about what the 3 jewels are: the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We've talked about the actual Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha as opposed to the conventional Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about the 8 worldly dharmas: gain, loss, pleasure, pain, fame, disgrace, praise, blame, that we're addicted to having the first 4 and addicted to avoiding the other 4. And then we talked about the reasons or causes of going for refuge to the 3 jewels. The first is fear. The second is said to be faith. That's an easy way to remember them. They both start with F's. Fear of the consequences of our negative actions, specifically fear of a less favorable rebirth, but in broader terms, fear of inevitable suffering that we will experience in the future because of our negative actions of body, speech, and mind, both in this lifetime and in countless previous lifetimes. So fear does have somewhat of a negative connotation. This is not a paralyzing fear, but as I think of it, an informed knowledge about the consequences of our action. We understand what will be the inevitable results of our actions of body, speech, and mind. So this is really based on understanding the first 2 of the 4 Noble Truths. The first being that life is suffering, life is complicated, life is full of problems, that we're certainly aware of that right now. And the second is an understanding that there is a cause to those problems, that they don't just occur randomly, but they're the results of karma and negative mind states, mental afflictions. So fear, informed knowledge, apprehension, whatever you want to call it, that's the first cause of going for refuge. We say, I'm sick and tired of this. I don't want my life to continue this way. I want something different. The second cause, which we're going to talk about tonight, is sometimes referred to as faith, but I think a much better word for that is confidence. Okay, it's actually having confidence that the 3 jewels are a valid source object of refuge, that the 3 jewels really can show us the way out of this life of suffering, of complications. It's an informed knowledge about their qualities and a confidence that they can show us the path that we want to follow. So I really like confidence better in this. It's not really, because faith again has certain implications, and we think of blind faith or unthinking faith or heedless faith. And this is this encompasses the second pair of, or the third and fourth noble truths, that there can be a cessation to our suffering, and that there is a path, okay? The path that's shown to us by the three jewels. So the fear is the first two noble truths, confidence is the third and fourth noble truths. And then, if we're practicing in the Mahayana tradition, which is the Buddhism that we practice here at Kadampa Center, what's referred to as the great vehicle, which with the bodhicitta motivation, then our compassion, both for ourselves and for others, is a further motivation to go for refuge. So but if you're ever getting a quiz on Buddhism and they ask what are the causes of going for refuge, fear and faith would be the correct answer. Compassion is just kind of icing on the cake in the tradition that we're in. So what are we talking about when we talk about faith or confidence in Buddhism? First, I'm going to read a quote from Geshe Jampa Gyatso. We should go for refuge in our own future Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, as this will generate more interest in the refuge practice, and consequently, we will put more energy into it. We should go for refuge in our own future Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So when we talk about faith in the Buddhist tradition, we're not talking about blind faith, but there are three specific types of faith that we can develop, or three specific three specific types of confidence we can develop in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And Geshe-la frequently mentions these on Wednesday night, and he asks people what they are, and nobody ever remembers them. So if you start coming to his teachings on Wednesday night and you remember these, you may get a chance to impress Geshe Gelik. Let's see, and there are different ways that these are translating. The first I'll say is admiring confidence. The second is aspiring confidence. And the third is convinced confidence. Admiring confidence means that we're looking at the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and we see their good qualities. We actually see them. We understand them. And that creates a joyful feeling in ourselves. It makes us feel good just to look at their good qualities. Okay? The aspiring confidence, we see those good qualities and we actually wish to develop them in our own mind. All this is about what we develop in our mind. And the third, convinced consciousness, arises from really understanding, analyzing. We look at their good qualities and we analyze them and test them against our own experience. None of this is to be taken on faith. None of it is to be taken simply because the Buddha said so. It's all based on your own mind to observe and to test against your own experience. Okay? So the first is admiring confidence. Second is aspiring confidence. Third is convinced confidence. Or you could use the word faith instead of confidence there. So those are the three types of faith or confidence we talk about in Buddhism, and specifically in relation to developing this confidence that leads us to take refuge. And again, I want to emphasize, when we're talking about refuge, we're not talking about going through the one-time ceremony, which we'll talk about next week, but we're talking about a continuous mental process of always going for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. But it's based on long study, observation, analysis, okay? It's not just one-time thing. You've got to use your own mind and see what there is there for you to admire, or for you to aspire to, or you to even be convinced of. Okay, so it's a gradual progression through those three types of faith or confidence. Okay. You'll find lots of long list of the various qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha that I'm not going to go through. You can read those in Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand and other places. I did want to just mention there's a list of 4 qualities of the Buddha that makes the historical Buddha, or the actual Buddhas who are present at this time. There's certainly many Buddhas present. We may not see them, but the qualities of a Buddha that make them a suitable object of refuge. The first, that a Buddha is completely free of all fear. I.e., that means the Buddha knows he's not going to suffer. He's not going to be stuck in cyclic existence, the uncontrolled cycle of being born, getting old, dying, being born, getting old, dying over and over again, because the Buddha has purified and eliminated all negative karmic imprints from his mind stream, his or her mind stream, completely eliminated them. So the Buddha has no fear about anything that's going to happen in the future, anything that will happen to them, completely free of all fear. Okay? That's the first quality that makes a Buddha a suitable object of refuge. The second is that the Buddha has the skillful means to free others. And that's a very... That doesn't mean that the Buddha is a god or is all-powerful, or the Buddha can remove my negative karma or Danas or Lindas. The only thing that a Buddha really can do for others is to teach. Okay, and then it's up to the individual whether they're going to hear those teachings or not. Now, these teachings can be delivered by the Buddha in any possible form. I mean, it may be a traffic jam on the way to work in the morning. Okay, that may be a teaching for someone specifically who needs to learn patience, okay? But, it can be difficult people. Maybe Buddha's manifesting to teach us. It's not necessarily someone sitting on a cushion up here at the front of Kadampa Center, but the Buddha has the skillful means, which means the wisdom and the understanding, to teach in the most appropriate way for every living beings. Okay? We don't always hear those teachings or appreciate them, but they're coming to you. Okay? So this is the second quality that makes the Buddha a suitable object of refuge. The third is that a Buddha has equal compassion for everyone. The world of a Buddha isn't divided into friends and enemies and people I don't care about. Equal compassion, the wish that beings be free of suffering for everyone. Okay. Total, equal compassion for everyone. That means every human being, every insect, every being in the animal realms and the other realms. No matter how horrible that person may be, the Buddha is equally compassionate for everyone. It's not rationed out. That's the third quality that makes a Buddha a suitable object of refuge. The fourth quality is the Buddha fulfills the purposes of others, whether they help him or not. And that, by fulfilling the purposes, means guiding them on the path to enlightenment. Okay, the Buddha is willing to guide everyone on the path to enlightenment, whether they have done anything to benefit the Buddha or not. Again, this is equally willing to guide everyone. You know, even the best and most humble and most diligent at their prayers Buddhist doesn't get extra special treatment from the Buddha. Everybody can be equally guided if they're open to it. So those are four qualities that make the Buddha a suitable object of refuge. But I didn't want to get into a lot of lists there. And let's see. Otherwise, we're making good time here. Any questions from my two people in the audience? Okay. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun.
Actually, Robbie, I do have a question.
Okay, thank you.
So, piggybacking on what you were just saying, that everyone, is like treated equal, for lack of a better way of saying it.
Mm-hmm.
What about during prayers that we do here at Kadampa Center and other Buddhist, and during the prayer they're actually asking all you Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, please pay attention to me, and we're actually asking them to come here
Mm-hmm.
and listen.
Yeah.
So would that not, wager a little bit more attention, I guess?
I don't think so. I think they're there whether you ask them to come or not, for one thing, okay? I think prayers are done for the effect on our own mind, basically. Okay. The Buddha is already here if we can see him, okay? What we're trying to do is create a mind that can perceive the Buddha that's already here, I think.
Okay.
So it is an image of asking them to come here, but I don't think you could, a Buddha, the mind of a Buddha is said to pervade all space and time. So they're already here, okay?
Okay.
We just don't see them. Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I've got one more list tonight. This is the advantages of taking refuge, of the practice of refuge. And these can seem quite grandiose at times. But again, these are not the advantage. You do the refuge ceremony and all of these happen right away. These are the advantages of if refuge is continually in your mind. Okay? The practice of refuge, which is said to be the second most important Buddhist practice after an understanding of karma, as we talked about 2 weeks ago. Karma is considered the most important teaching of the Buddha, and practice of refuge is considered the second most important. Kind of surprising, not necessarily the ones I would have picked if I had to answer that question blind. First advantage is we become a Buddhist, a follower of the Buddha. It means that we've formally launched ourselves on this path of ending our imprisonment in cyclic existence, and we're making a firm statement to ourselves about the direction that our life is going to take. It's embarking on the path to enlightenment. So that's kind of an obvious one, but we should remember that. Second, taking refuge establishes the foundation for taking other vows. All the other vows that you may have heard of or may not have heard of, the 5 lay precepts, the bodhisattva vows, tantric vows, all those come after taking refuge. Taking refuge is the first step in this series of vows that you can take. Okay? Taking refuge. The third advantage is it helps us purify negative karma. So we're on a path that helps us lessen the impact of negative actions of body, speech, and mind that we've created in the past. So even though it may not eliminate it completely, it helps us to begin purifying it. And the fourth advantage is it helps us to accumulate positive karma or merit. If we take refuge and we trust in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and we attempt to follow the teachings, we will inevitably be creating positive karma. Those are the first 4. Those are pretty clear. The next one are a little bit hard to understand, and I don't think I can necessarily explain them well, but I'm just going to read through them. The 5th is that we can't be harmed by others. To be harmed by someone, we have to create that karma. We have to create the negative karma that would cause us to be harmed by others. So if we're truly taking refuge and not creating negative karma, then we can't be harmed by others. The 6th, we won't have a lower rebirth, okay, in the animal realm, the hungry ghost realm, or the hell realms. And that's something that that's an advantage because it is much more difficult to practice Dharma in those rebirths, okay? As we said, the Buddha is equally compassionate for them. He manifests to them, but the minds of the majority of the beings in those lower realms it's a mind that it's very difficult to practice the Dharma. Not impossible, but being reborn in one of the more favorable rebirths, humans, God realms, demigod realms, it's much easier to practice the Dharma. We have much more opportunities. The 7th advantage is our virtuous aspirations will be fulfilled. Everything virtuous that we aspire to will ultimately happen. And then the 8th is we will quickly attain Buddhahood. We ourselves will attain the state of complete wisdom and compassion. That is the state of a Buddha. Okay, so 8 advantages to taking refuge. I'll just run through them again. The first is we become a Buddhist, a follower of the Buddha. Second, it's the foundation for taking further vows. 3, it helps purify negative karma. 4, helps us accumulate positive karma. 5, it makes it so that we can't be harmed by others because we're not creating that karma. 6, we will not have a lower rebirth. 7, our virtuous aspirations will be fulfilled. And 8, we will quickly attain Buddhahood. And again, let me just emphasize, this doesn't mean we go through the ceremony and all this stuff starts to happen. This is about the practice of refuge, which is a continual practice and something that needs to be developed in our mind stream. I mean, all of this is happening in our own mind, taking inspiration from the 3 jewels and changing our mind so that we're freeing ourselves from cyclic existence creating positive karma, purifying negative karma. All this is psychological. It's all in the mind. None of it's happening out there, okay? This is all in our mind. Remember that. That's very important, I think. I think that's all the material that I wanted to cover tonight. I ran through it pretty quickly. So if you have questions, please send those to Linda, and then I'll look at those and address those next week. And next week we'll talk about the refuge ceremony, the 5 lay precepts, what the commitments of taking refuge are, and what's involved in the ceremony, which I think, is that still...
Currently planned for.
Yeah, that should not be done by live stream. That's something that will actually have to be held here at the center.
This is Donna. The current plan, barring problems with COVID virus, is to have Geshe Sangpo will offer the refuge ceremony on Sakadawa, which is Friday, June 5th at Kadampa Center.
Okay. And the refuge, we'll talk about this next week. The refuge ceremony is not something to be entered into lightly. It should be a deliberate, thoughtful consideration. And you should take it from a teacher that you feel some connection with, that you think has admirable qualities. That your refuge guru, as they're referred to, doesn't become automatically your number one teacher. Okay, that's not necessarily what we refer to as your root guru, but it is making an important connection with that teacher, so it's something to consider. And we have different, Geshe Gelik offers refuge. I mean, we do about 1 refuge ceremony a year, I think. Yeah, so if you're not ready for it this time, don't feel any haste to participate. Geshe Gelik offers refuge. Venerable Rabina has offered refuge in the past when she's here. So we'll talk about this more next week. And so those are the important things tonight, the different types of confidence. Okay, fear and faith, remember that, faith being confidence, the 3 types. Just think about why the Buddha and Dharma are suitable objects of refuge, and then think about the advantages that come from taking refuge. And I think that's the pith of this discussion. Went through it very quickly. And anything else? Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I'll say my email address. This is Linda speaking. So if you do have questions for Robbie, email them to me at this email address. It's program.db@kadampa-center.org.
Okay.
So again, program.db@kadampa-center.org.
And I will put the homework up. I'll send it to Linda and she'll post it. It's just been a really hectic week for me, so I didn't have a chance to do that. But continue to meditate every day. Continue with the readings. And I'll not see you again next week, but you can see me if you're so inclined. So let's just take a moment. Sit quietly. Acknowledge that we've done something positive in the midst of these very difficult and trying times. And it's always, lots of times we forget this. We come in here and talk about suffering and negative karma and all this stuff, but we should rejoice that we have an opportunity just to sit like this for half an hour or so, and we have an opportunity to study the Dharma. So we really, even with everything that's going on now, we need to rejoice, and we need to dedicate the positive energy that we've created so that it may be of benefit to all sentient beings. Okay, so thank you everyone. Stay safe, happy, and healthy, and we'll meet again next week. Thank you.